When I came to Zen practice, it was after a long spell on the backside of the spiritual desert. As many of you know, I originally studied to be a Christian minister, only to have my hopes dashed because I couldn't fall in line with some of the doctrinal expressions that I was being fed at the time. Frankly, on reflection, it was likely that I was just immature, as I have a lot of Christian clergy friends with a deep spirit of awakening in them. But for one reason or another, I was destined for a different path. And Zen became a harbor for me many years later, initially because I thought it was sanitized of any notion of God or religion. And a lot of us came here because of that too. But I think a lot of that is just our spiritual stigmas that are at play. We wind up pointing in the same direction, using different gestures towards the unknowable, towards the ineffable. American Zen, frankly, avoids talk of the religious or sacred, and we make practices like chanting difficult to appreciate when we do this. Yet, when we chant well, something happens. We get a visceral sense of the vast interconnectedness of the universe. We chant in a real way with one voice, and the chant chants us too. It's not something that can be adequately explained, even if I tried, and it probably shouldn't be. There's a place within us for the ineffable, for mystery. Sometimes religious expression is the only vessel that can contain it. Voltaire once remarked that if God didn't exist, it'd be necessary to invent him. Some interpret this very cynically, but we might take it another way. There's a space present in each of us. It's not necessarily a void to be filled, but it's an openness where the heart resonates with boundlessness. Blaise Pascal called this the God-shaped void. And I'd offer to you that chanting the Enmei Jukku Kannon Gyo is one such expression of that void. Chanting has a power beyond intellectual understanding. Of course, we resist this because we want to know, we want to define, we want to analyze, we want to categorize. But chanting completely bypasses that part of us. It works at the level of rhythm, at the level of breath and deep resonance. It aligns us with something vast, something that doesn't require explanation. I don't do it often with a lot of new practitioners, but we're ready as a Sangha for some of this now. I know you won't cling to this, like it's some sort of panacea that's outside of doing the arduous work required to awaken and to be of service. So even if we don't understand the words, or maybe even more so, chanting still moves us. It carries us all into synchronicity. It settles us into the present. When a group chants together, individual voices disappear into a single sound. The self, in a very real way, drops away. And in that moment, we're not thinking about words or meaning. We are the chant. And that's enough. Zen master Hakuin understood this well. He urged students to chant the Enmei Jukku Kannon Gyo, not just as a practice of meaning, but really as a practice of presence. When we open up and chant wholeheartedly, something is awakened, not in our intellect, but deep, deep down into our true nature, into the marrow of all of our being. I want to talk to you today about the Enmei Jukku Kannon Gyo. As I mentioned before, Zen Master Hakuin was a big advocate. He's second to only Dogen in shaping Japanese Zen. And he had a deep affinity for this sutra. He often encouraged its recitation, believing in its ability to raise bodhicitta, to cultivate great compassion. There's even a story that he used to discuss about how the sutra saved a person from the gallows. Condemned man waiting the gallows spent his final days chanting the Enmei Jukku Kannon Gyo. And when the time came for his execution, the rope repeatedly snapped. The officials, unnerved, took it as a sign and granted him pardon. I'm not suggesting that stories like this are meant for our absorption as supernatural intervention, but they do point to a profound transformative power of practice. The sutra is not about words, it's about a way of being. It's about a way of orienting ourselves. It's about aligning our heart and mind. And yet, saying all of that, there is something supernatural at work here. Something that manifests beyond the feelings of doubt and fear that contain the small self. Enmei Jukku Kannon Gyo, the title, speaks itself onto vastness. Enmei implies eternal life, or boundless life might be a different way to say it. Not something temporal, something that's always present every moment. Unlimited dimensions, without beginning or end. Jukku is appropriate because it just means 10 phrases. And there are 10 phrases in this short dharani. Kannon is the Japanese name for Avalokiteśvara, or the Bodhisattva of Compassion. And Gyo means sutra or teaching. And so the title is The Sutra of Avalokiteśvara in 10 Phases on Eternal Life, or Boundless Life. The first line opens Kanzeon. Calling forth Kanzeon is invoking the presence of compassion. Each of the 10 phrases expresses compassionate practice from a different standpoint. The word Kanzeon breaking down, kan is to perceive, to penetrate, or to see deeply. And Zei is the world. On is sound. So Kanzeon is the one who hears the cries of the world. And the implication here, and does not turn away. In this, Kanzeon is not separate from us. It is part of our own true compassionate nature, our own boundless response to suffering. On one side of the altar, when you enter the Doksan room, we have Manjusri. He embodies wisdom. But here in the Buddha hall, we have Avalokiteśvara, embodying compassion. These are both elements of our true nature, and the balance of both is the awakened one, is Buddha. These figures on altars are not idols. They're personifications of the different aspects of our true nature. We could argue that when we bow, we do a kind of worship. We acknowledge the vastness within us. When we chant, we invite the spirit of Kanzeon to awaken within us, to come to the front of the celestial choir of all the host that we hold in our hearts. The next phrase, Namu Butsu. Namu, often translated as homage, but also meaning at one with. And Butsu means Buddha. We might think of Namu Butsu as a vassal offering, or a vassal rather bowing to some lord. But another way of understanding this is being at one. Host and guest being together. It's not the Buddha's over there and I'm here, but it's one with the Buddha. It's not an act of subjugation, it's an act of realization. So in a very real way, Zazen is a marker of this at-one-ment. Yeah? Nothing to attain, nothing to speak or seek. It's just being. The next line, Yo Butsu Uen. Yo is with, Butsu is Buddha, and In is direct cause. We could also say it's fundamental cause. So this phrase is saying our nature is already Buddha. Right? There are two ways to talk about Buddha nature. One would be, the direct cause, the seed itself, that's marked by In. And then there's En, the indirect cause, or the supporting conditions that cause it to manifest. So the seed of awakening is already present within us. Yet, such a seed needs sun and water, and practice provides the conditions for it to manifest, which is the next line, Yo Butsu U-En. So Yo Butsu U-En, Yo Butsu U-En. These two phrases go together. The first affirming the Buddha nature, the germinal seed, the creative motive force that's within all of us. The second affirming that our practice nurtures it or brings it forth. This is the nature of our karma. Our actions shape what we become. The next phrase, Bu Po So En. Bu, Buddha, Ho, Dharma, So, Sangha, and supporting conditions. The three treasures, the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, they're not external forces, but they're active causes of awakening. The Sangha, the Dharma, the very structure of practice, provides the fertile soil for realization. The next phrase is Jo Raku Ga Jo. Jo, permanent or eternal. Raku, joy or happiness. Ga is self, and Jo, it's a similar sounding syllable, of course, but with a different meaning because it comes from a different symbol. It means purity. So this phrase points to a self-actualized, joyous samadhi, when we're able to be at one with conditions playfully. And it's an experience of joy when we let go of separation and rest in the vastness of being. This joy is not like a personal joy that's held when we get what we want or when we self-aggrandize. It's the joy or heart that comes into harmony when we're fully present. The next verse is Chonen Kanzeon. Cho, morning. Nen, mindfulness or thought. So in the morning, we awaken or we're mindful of Kanzeon, not just in a ritualistic way, but in a way that invites the presence of compassion into our waking moments. The next phrase, Bo Nen Kanzeon. Bo is evening. So it's in the evening, we're also mindful of Kanzeon. From morning to night, waking to sleep, we live in this field of compassion, and so doing generate great joy. The next phrase, Nen Nen Jushin Ki. Nen Nen, thought after thought. Ju, following. Shin can be interpreted as mind or heart. And Ki, arising. So thought arises from this one big mind. When heart and mind are aligned, and mind is aligned with all of the universe, when we're in that place of samadhi, there's just this boundless, infinite moment. This is how we live. This is how we practice. We're not looking for something else. We're always showing up on the spot. Nen Nen Fu Ri Shin. Fu is not. Ri is separate. And Shin again is mind or heart. Thought after thought arises, but it's never separate from mind. Kanzeon is not something outside of us. Compassion's already here. Any attempt to grasp it by some soliloquy of an individual thought is hopeless. This is a realization of the chant. The one who hears the cries of the world is not elsewhere, and it's not separate in any given thought. It's always present in every boundless moment. So ultimately, what is this sutra telling us? In a way, it's telling us where to find home. We find home right where we're standing. We don't chant the sutra to summon something outside of us. We chant to awaken to what has always been here. We don't invoke Kanzeon as something separate. We chant because we are Kanzeon. The boundless life in this sutra is your life. It's my life. It's beyond any idea of yours and mine, self and other. It's all life. All life flowing, listening, and responding in this very moment in the chant. When we step beyond cynicism or skepticism, beyond doubt, and we just open to the chant, we enter that vastness without hesitation. Right now, as we sit, Kanzeon's listening. The cries of the world are all heard. And through our practice, we not only learn how to listen to, we learn how to actively step into that suffering wherever it's found and transform it. When we chant this sutra, we're not engaging in some empty ritual. We're calling forth a boundless heart and aligning it with this big mind of Kanzeon. We're aligning ourselves with a vast, interdependent field of all that is, all the field of living, the boundless notion of creation. In a way, Hakuin saw this as a lifeline. Perhaps he's not wrong. When life narrows, when the weight of the world presses down, we chant. We're not chanting to summon something external, but to open to what is here, but unseen, to bring it all into conscious realization. Can you hear it? If you listen right now, and when our practice is in synthesis or harmony, we find ourselves listening and responding harmoniously with joy. It's a reminder for all of us to have some trust, have some wonder, even some faith in this path that we all tread. Don't let cynicism take hold. Let this practice evoke some magic and some devotional energy. We, of course, have a wonderful practice and a wonderful Sangha. But let's step into that wonder and allow these practice forms to really work with us.